Good afternoon. Dear Mark. Dear distinguished guests, dear journalists, today I am pleased to welcome to Ukraine, to our Odesa, Mark Rutte, Secretary General of NATO. Of course, today we primarily discuss the security of Ukraine, all of Europe, and the Euro-Atlantic area. We also discussed our relations with all our partners in Europe and the United States. I am grateful to Mark for his unwavering support of Ukraine from the very first days of this war, when he was still the Prime Minister of the Netherlands. Together, we accomplished very important things, both in terms of security and politics. I personally thank you for that. Now, with Mark in his new role, we can achieve even more. It is clear to everyone how critical Ukraine's need for air defense systems and missiles has become, and today we had an extensive and detailed discussion about this pressing issue. Everyone understands the importance of maintaining pressure on Russia for this war and to push Russia into a position where it is ready to move forward in diplomacy. Similarly, it is evident to everyone that not only we in Ukraine, but all of us across Europe, must step up our efforts to enhance our security, increase the production of weapons, and establish more collaborative defense manufacturing initiatives. I am grateful to every leader who does not turn a blind eye to this reality, to the reality that only through determination can long-term peace be achieved. Ukraine is grateful for the continuation of our Ramstein format, and it is important to maintain its effectiveness and broad involvement of all partners. The recent Ramstein meeting was held in Brussels, at the headquarters of NATO, where key discussions and decisions were made. It is also important to maintain and expand all our bilateral formats of cooperation with partners in the alliance. This concerns defense support and all other forms of interaction. It is the stability and predictability of Ukraine's support that serves as the right incentive for Russia. A stimulus for diplomacy. They in Moscow must see that Ukraine will not be left alone with the war. I am thankful to every country in the world that understands this, that continues to support Ukraine and Ukrainians. Today, Mark Rutte and I dedicated a considerable portion of our conversation to discussing relations with the United States, as well as the efforts made by the American side in their negotiations with Russia. For the past 35 days, Putin has been consistently ignoring the American proposal for a complete ceasefire. The recent Russian strikes on Kryvyi Rih, Sumy, and other Ukrainian cities clearly demonstrate that the Russians are not only resolute in their intention to continue the war, but are also likely attempting to exert pressure on the West, rather than feeling any significant pressure themselves. I would like to express my gratitude to everyone who is intensifying the pressure on the Russians and doing everything within their power to change this dire situation and force Putin to bring an end to the war. A few more points. We expect our agreements on air defense systems with our partners in Europe and the United States to be implemented. Mark, I would be grateful for the help you provide daily and for your continued support of Ukraine. Thank you for advocating for our need for Patriot systems. This is very important, as it is our defensive weapon. We are not just asking for Patriots. We had a discussion with the Secretary General today, and we are fully prepared to come together and mobilize the necessary resources to secure the funding required to purchase these crucial systems. We are ready for any steps to strengthen air defense for Ukraine. This is a political issue today. These systems exist in the world, and the missiles for Patriots are also available. It is solely up to the decisions of the leaders whether we will have sufficient protection from Russian ballistic threats. It is also important that we continue to work together within the coalition of willing and capable countries to guarantee security. The UK, France, and other NATO countries are already actively preparing the foundation for a security contingent in Ukraine. It is important that we all move quickly and effectively in this process. In addition, NATO's security assistance and training mission in Wiesbaden must be strengthened and made as effective as possible to ensure it achieves its full potential in supporting our efforts. Its effectiveness is crucial for us, as it provides protection for our people. Thank you for your visit to Odesa. We have met here before, and I sincerely thank you for your support. Glory to Ukraine.
Statement by the NATO Secretary General.
Mr. President, dear everyone, it is extremely important for me to be here with all of you today in Odesa, standing together in this significant moment. This city has been under relentless attack, and just this week, several buildings, including a hospital, were struck by missiles, further intensifying the suffering and destruction. Today, we visited the hospital. We spoke to people who suffered from the war and were injured. 2 days ago, in Sumy, on Palm Sunday, a major Christian holiday that is meant to be a time of peace and reflection, 2 Russian ballistic missiles hit the area, tragically killing 30 innocent people, children, men, and women, who were simply going about their lives, marking a day of faith. Over 100 others were seriously injured. It's horrifying. This is a deeply disturbing and alarming pattern, the way Russia continuously targets and attacks civilian infrastructure throughout Ukraine, causing widespread devastation and suffering among innocent people. Hundreds of hospitals, hundreds of thousands of people have become targets over the past year. I am here because I believe the Ukrainian people deserve real peace, real security in their countries, in their homes. My heart is filled with deep sorrow for the people of Ukraine, especially for those who have lost their loved ones in the recent bombings, for those who have endured so much pain and hardship over the past years, and for those who have been forced to leave their homes due to this unjust and illegal war. That is exactly why I am here with you today, my dear friends, standing together to convey an important and urgent message that I believe must be shared with everyone. NATO stands with Ukraine. You and I know that this has been true and continues to be true. I am aware that in recent months, there have been some questions and concerns raised about NATO's level of support, but allow me to make it clear that our commitment to supporting Ukraine is unwavering and absolutely unquestionable. NATO continues to provide political and other forms of assistance to Ukraine through security support, and we meet both in Kiev and Brussels. What else? In the first 3 months of 2025 alone, NATO partners have already provided more than €20 billion in crucial aid to Ukraine, demonstrating their strong and continued commitment to supporting our country during this challenging time. Our commitment is concrete and visible. You can also clearly see the continued and steadfast contributions from our partners, which were reaffirmed and announced during the Ramstein meeting this past Friday. We are committed to ensuring that Ukraine remains a sovereign, independent, and strong nation, fully capable of defending itself not only in the present but also against any potential future aggression that may arise. These are the conditions we are working toward. Today, I once again emphasize the crucial role that President Trump is playing in the ongoing negotiations between Ukraine and Russia, working tirelessly to bring an end to the war and establish lasting peace for all involved. These discussions are far from easy, particularly in the face of such overwhelming violence and tension, but we all stand firmly in support of Mr. Trump as he works tirelessly to navigate these complex negotiations. Our valued partners in the UK and France are also taking important and proactive steps to help ensure lasting peace in Ukraine when the right moment arrives, working alongside us to build a stable and secure future. So let me once again say to the people of Ukraine, to the nation of Ukraine, we stand with you. And we eagerly look forward to the day when the courageous people of this remarkable country can finally live in peace, enjoying their freedom without the constant shadow of fear hanging over them. Thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you today. I am grateful for your leadership, your friendship, and glory to Ukraine.
Dear colleagues, journalists, it's time for your questions. Please.
I have one question for both of you. First, Mr. Witkoff said that the peace agreement includes 5 territories, where there is no NATO, and there is no Article 5. So, I have a question for you, Mr. Secretary General. Do you understand that the Americans and Russians have been talking about NATO without you? And what does this mean for NATO, for Ukraine, and for you? What is it about when Special Representative Witkoff talks about some 5 territories, there will be no NATO, there will be no 5th article? How do we respond to this? Thank you very much.
First of all, I want to say and comment on this. I believe it is incredibly important that Mr. Trump has taken the initiative to start negotiations, especially given the fact that so many lives are being lost, countless cities and vital infrastructure are being destroyed, and attacks are ongoing every day. These efforts are of immense significance and are critical to bringing about an end to the suffering. I have decided not to comment on the intermediate stages of this project and process, because I do not want to interfere with this process. We are providing the support we can, but at the intermediate stages, I do not want to comment.
It is indeed difficult to comment. When it comes to NATO, for instance, I believe that only those within the leadership ranks of NATO member countries are in a position to provide comments or insights regarding Ukraine's potential future membership in the alliance. Among those you mentioned, there are no leaders who are NATO members. Therefore, I don't think these people have any influence on the question of Ukraine as a future member. As for the territories, Ukraine is a fully sovereign and independent state, and therefore, all territories rightfully belong to the unitary state of Ukraine, in accordance with international law and the principles of territorial integrity. Therefore, once again, the people of Ukraine are the only ones who can speak about the territories of our state. And you know that for us, these are red lines, recognizing any temporarily occupied territories as non-Ukrainian, but Russian. So, once again, the relevant representatives you mentioned are discussing matters beyond their competence.
Next question, please, from the Associated Press. Mr. Secretary General, thank you very much for being here. First question. Is there any information you can share about the security situation in the Black Sea? Today and tomorrow, negotiations are taking place in Ankara on establishing a ceasefire in the Black Sea. Are there any Ukrainian representatives present there? Thank you.
NATO is actively involved in the situation. Naturally, we are closely monitoring the developments, staying in constant communication with our American friends, and diligently following Mr. Trump's initiatives aimed at negotiating a ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia in order to bring an end to the ongoing conflict. We support these efforts. Furthermore, through our command, in Wiesbaden, we are working together, and we have been collaborating with British and French officers. We had a thorough discussion on how we can move forward in the most effective way, exploring various strategies and approaches to ensure that we organize and strengthen our future cooperation in the best possible manner. Of course, yes, there is currently the fight against Russia, but we are also thinking about the long-term period ahead. We must understand that a ceasefire is good, but we must also realize that the Ukrainian armed forces are the first line of defense, which must always stand at Ukraine's borders. These initiatives are ongoing. I believe you are aware that France and the UK are working together on this important issue as part of a coalition, and we are deeply grateful to them for their efforts. At the same time, we are doing our part by offering recommendations and providing advice wherever possible to support their initiatives. I am very pleased that our partners are participating in these initiatives. But first and foremost, we need to protect Ukraine and ensure that there will be a ceasefire, and then make sure that Putin never repeats his attempts. We remember the Minsk agreements of 2014, when we thought everything had worked out, but those agreements were not strong enough, and Putin tried again. Therefore, once the war is over, we must take every possible measure to ensure that Vladimir Putin is never able to even consider advancing or attempting to seize any part of Ukrainian territory again, securing Ukraine's borders and sovereignty for the future. That is precisely why the British and the French are actively assisting and collaborating with the Ukrainian people to organize various initiatives, ensuring that we work together effectively towards common goals. At this moment, there are numerous ongoing negotiations, and we sincerely hope that these efforts will not only result in a ceasefire but also pave the way for essential training and support to strengthen our position moving forward. And I think we don't yet know exactly who will be doing what, but we are preparing for it, and we are preparing to achieve results as quickly as possible. Of course, NATO is trying to move everything in the right direction.
First of all, you know that a month ago, President Trump proposed an unconditional ceasefire. We supported this proposal, and there was no disagreement on any detail because it was an unconditional ceasefire. This is exactly the proposal that came from the American side, personally from President Trump. Unconditionally, without any conditions. We agreed, but Russia is still ignoring this and showing through its strikes on Ukraine that it does not yet accept this initiative from the United States, which has once again been supported by Ukraine. In principle, all leaders support this position, and it is understood by everyone. An unconditional ceasefire. The terms can be discussed, such as deadlines, etc. But it is absolutely clear what is meant by it. Regarding your first question, in addition to the negotiations between Mr. Putin and Mr. Vitkov, there are other negotiations taking place in the world. What is happening in Turkey is a meeting of military officials concerning security in the Black Sea. This primarily involves the coalition of willing countries and the necessary steps. As we mentioned, there have already been many such meetings. Different formats of the coalition of the willing and capable are being discussed. Today and over the next 2 days, this will be discussed at the venue provided by our Turkish colleagues. They have extended invitations to representatives from those who are tasked with representing Europe, as was agreed upon during the Paris summit, in order to ensure broad and unified participation in the ongoing discussions. This includes the UK, France, and, of course, Ukraine, with Turkey as the host. Military representatives are discussing security issues in the Black Sea.
Turkey successfully brokered and agreed to a ceasefire in 2022, specifically when it came to the grain initiative, playing a crucial role in facilitating the deal and ensuring the continuation of vital grain exports during a time of great international concern. So, let's consider that Turkey will also succeed in this case.
If possible, please clarify the question for Mr. Zelenskyy. Please clarify what preferences will result from these negotiations. In Istanbul, discussions took place regarding what preferences Ukraine might have moving forward, and there was also hope and speculation about whether the situation in Odesa would calm down, bringing a sense of relief to the people there.
It seems to me, just to avoid going too deep into many different issues, I would like to make sure no one in the media or any politicians through the media confuse you. These are two completely separate matters: peace negotiations, which are focused on resolving the immediate conflict, and our security guarantees, which are aimed at ensuring long-term protection and stability for Ukraine in the future. Security guarantees are about the presence of contingents, the presence of Western partners in the sky, at sea, on land. This is called the Coalition of the Willing. That's the working title. We have already had meetings in Europe, in Paris, London, and Brussels. There's a meeting in Turkey because we're discussing the presence of a contingent at sea. And we believe that Turkey could play a significant role in future security guarantees concerning the sea. This is not about ending the war, unfortunately. It's about what will happen after a ceasefire. Security guarantees for Ukraine, after the ceasefire. Part of these security guarantees is the presence of military personnel. Military personnel. The issue being discussed now is precisely the presence of these military personnel in the Black Sea. This is being discussed. And this is very important for everyone. For Odesa, for Mykolaiv, for all our cities and towns. Especially those located on the Black Sea, port infrastructure, port security. The security corridor, the grain corridor, it's no longer just called the grain corridor, usually it is, but now we speak in general terms, maritime security, free navigation. So, this is a little bit about different things. The discussions in Turkey are not about peace initiatives, not negotiations between Ukraine and Russia. The Russians still do not want any negotiations. As you can see, we are not afraid of anything, but they still do not want them. So, we are talking about security guarantees.
Thank you. Continuing on this topic, does NATO still consider Russia a potential aggressor? Do they rely on the resilience of the Ukrainian armed forces?
Potentially, they are aggressors.
Be very clear. Russia is the aggressor.
Russia is an aggressor. Russia started the war. And this is unquestionable.
Good afternoon. I wanted to ask how the negotiations regarding the mineral agreement went? And are there any new developments on this matter? Maybe you have some good news for us?
Shall I? No.
I'd like to offer some reassurance by saying that the negotiations went well and were, in general, very positive. This was a technical meeting, primarily involving the technical team, where we focused on key details and practical aspects of the discussions. Furthermore, meetings at this level, conducted in various formats, such as online contacts, will continue throughout this week and beyond, with the aim of ensuring that everything is thoroughly addressed and finalized by the end. After all these consultations, when the teams are ready, I think they will show what they've worked on. So far, both sides concluded the meeting on a positive note. I believe this is the right approach. Thank you.
Thank you, dear colleagues, for your questions. The press conference has come to end.